Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We are ahead of time, so which is a very perfect result or beginning for our session. I am pleased to welcome you on the panel session, Tokenization of Assets, New Era for Financial Markets in the Digital Economy. So it's a part of Astana Finance Days, and there's one remark from AFC. AFC would like to extend sincere thanks to esteemed partners, Freedom Broker, Kazminerals, and the ITS for their continued support and valuable contribution to the development of the forum. So it's in regards to forum. Today we already are witnessing the trend and transformation from pure concept to practical use cases and practical implementation of such tool as tokenization of digital assets. Of course, the most popular or more spread for the beginning of this trend is tokenization of securities. Later on, we are talking about the tokenization of commodities, and who knows what we will be talking about in like 5 to 10 years. Our goal today is to discuss how asset tokenization is reshaping capital market, is it creating more efficient, transparent, and inclusive financial ecosystem? And let me introduce our distinguished panelists. Huankiat is a FinTech director at Phillip Securities, investment house licensed by Monetary Authority of Singapore. He is a professional with more than 20 years of experience in the tech industry. He is leading and delivering, the most important thing, complex technology projects into the finances. Let me introduce Binur Zhalenov. He is Chief Digital Officer of the National Bank of Kazakhstan. He needs no introduction since he is one of the creators of our CBDC, Digital Tenge. Jesse Knutson is the Chief Operations Officer at the Bitfinex Securities, an AFC licensed security token exchange. And Erlan Tazhibayev, who is CEO of ETSE, which is the platform focused on the development of market infrastructure and new trading segments, unusual for the Kazakhstan and for AFC as well. So let me start with Huankiat, and the first question to you. Please provide us with your opinion on the title of our session. Is tokenization a new era for financial markets?
Thank you. All right. Thank you for having me here. All right. I think the short answer is yes, or else we will not be sitting here. I think it's more than that. We start to see this tremendous increase in tokenization trends and the amount of assets being tokenized. The figure that struck me at the beginning of the year, when I was looking at BlackRock tokenized treasury products, was I think not hitting $1 billion. And when I see it June, right, I was reporting to my boss. It was 2.5. That's how fast it has grown. So for sure, Phillip has always been interested in serving the wider investment community. And I think this will create an efficiency way of distributing, managing investment product for the full life cycle. That's for sure our conviction within the Phillip Capital Group. Right.
Thank you. From your point of view, how tokenization can influence on the retail investors' engagement with traditional finances or tokenized forms?
Okay, we see a big trend on 24 hours trading at this point. So we are currently focusing on tokenizing money market fund. So this is our very first project, not our very first project. This is our second project, our third project. Before that, we look at private equity. So the retail investors will start to be used to two things: 24 hours trading and immediate settlement, right? And all this will be provided by tokenizations itself. So, you know, we are used to non-immediate payment 20, 30 years ago, right? Right now, we are so used to immediate payment. We see that the preference of retail investors is going to move to 24 hours, even 24/7, together with immediate settlement, immediate money being exchanged, and the product being exchanged.
Thank you. My next question is to Binur. Binur, the media full of news from the National Bank in regard to digital assets. So what are the recent initiatives of the National Bank of Kazakhstan in regard to digital assets, including tokenization?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting for this wonderful event. For sure, it has become one of the key events of financial industry, not only in Astana, but in Central Asia. As for your question, as you might know, according to the order of the president, the financial regulators, including National Bank, which is central bank, and Agency for Financial Regulation, together we developed a set of legal amendments that are now under consideration in the parliament to essentially build a regulatory framework for digital asset circulation in Kazakhstan. So for us, it's not about chasing the hype, but rather to achieve, in my opinion, three core strategic goals. The first is monetary and currency sovereignty. As you all know, on July 18th, the President Trump signed and Congress approved the Genius Act and Clarity Act, which expanded and accelerated the adoption of digital assets worldwide, which legalized the status of digital dollar, which is USDT, USDC, and other forms. And that's a good thing because institutional players started to adopt this kind of new forms of money and other financial instruments faster, but it's also the risk for developing economies like Kazakhstan, because essentially what we might see is a hidden dollarization, or as one might call cryptization of economy. And it's important for us, moreover, it's critical for us to build our national sovereign ecosystem that thrive, and with tenge at the heart. So that's the core motivation of the central bank. The second is, as you all know, we have a already huge market of digital assets in Kazakhstan. Unfortunately, huge part of it is still in unregulated area, and it's important to to break this regulatory arbitrage, to make a regulatory environment a little bit much more attractive than unregulated environment. And also, it's the third goal is to make crypto industry one of the new points of growth for digital economy in Kazakhstan. In order to achieve that, strategically, what we are going to build is a national ecosystem that has a proper infrastructure, proper regulation at place, and other vehicles that would help market participants to launch products like tenge-pegged stable coins or tokenization platforms and access the customer base. And in order to achieve that, so we have like three directions of work at the moment. The first is, again, legal amendments. The fundamental amendment is withdrawal of the ban of crypto circulation in mainland in Kazakhstan. So it's not going to be banned. We're also going to introduce a licensing regime for OTC crypto exchanges so that people can exchange. And we are going to in parallel to expand existing crypto-to-fiat channels in terms of limits, access of legal entities, and many other things as well. We also hope that these amendments will help to thrive for tenge-backed stablecoin. Again, it's not like issuing stablecoin for the sake of having tenge-backed stablecoin. It's about building ecosystem around that stablecoin, currency pairs, liquidity pools, market makers who support that. That's a huge work, and that requires some legal amendments. And the a huge part is building the whole new framework for tokenization. So we're going to introduce a new taxonomy for tokenized assets. They're going to be like unbacked assets, like crypto and foreign stablecoins, etc., and backed assets. These backed assets will be categorized in three categories. The first is natively tokenized financial asset, when the bond or security or other thing, it's like tokenized in the platform. The second is financial asset backed tokens, when you have existing bond securities and you put it in as a collateral and issue tokens. And the third is are stable coins. We're not just introducing taxonomy, but the whole licensing regime for the issuers, for the requirements to custody, and many other things. And many other amendments, but that's like a long story short. In parallel, we launched our regulatory sandbox. We already have 8 projects in the sandbox, including stable coins, etc. So we're going to introduce that. And we're also still just considering, the establishment of state crypto reserve. It's not, again, chasing the hype. We have some thoughts how to utilize this crypto reserve, potential as a liquidity pool for tenge-backed stablecoins, and potential as a settlement liquidity pool for cross-border settlement infrastructure. But we'll see. We will announce this news soon. So again, many things are happening. That's a very long story, very short.
Thank you. That was very interesting, even to me. Another topic which is crucial for every stakeholder in regard to the landscape of the digital assets market in the Kazakhstan. How do you see the interaction of digital assets markets of so-called mainland Kazakhstan and AFC? Binur?
It's for me.
Did you get the question?
Well, AFC is doing a great job on the building regulatory framework. It's serving as a primer not only for us as a mainland, but for other jurisdictions as well. As far as I'm informed, IOSCO considered your regulation as one of the benchmarks for a regulation of digital asset circulation, which is fine. So we learn a lot from you, essentially. But fundamentally, AFC and mainland has different mandates, right? So, and the core mandate of AFC is bringing foreign capital and doing this stuff, and tokenization is a great instrument to building so. But for us, it's another mandate, is to unblock liquidity within the mainland through tokenization, to democratize access for investors, to provide new financing instruments for SME and many other things. So I believe there are going to be some interaction, of course, and we should work on the mutual recognition for certain use cases of tokenized assets, so that the tokenized assets issued in the IFC can be legally recognized by us to be, for example, a collateral for lending, for example. And vice versa. And but again, the devil is in the details, of course. And so we hope to kick off this particular work very soon. And again, we should find synergies between two regulations. There shouldn't be some like competition or something like that, because we have like two different market segments essentially that we serve. So we should help each other to serve our market segments more effectively and efficiently. And I think we have a chance to do so. So that's like that's a philosophy behind our potential collaboration.
Thank you. Totally agree on my side. And the IOSCO document you mentioned, it's just a draft today, but later on in October it will be officially published, and we will make it available for the general public. Jesse, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. Maybe general public not that aware that the first listing on your AFC licensed securities token exchange held back to 2021. So that's a long experience, and having in mind this experience, what successful or non-successful asset tokenization cases can you highlight as most relevant to Kazakhstan, to maybe emerging markets?
Thank you very much. Tech support from the National Bank. Yeah, no, this is, time goes by very quickly indeed, and this is actually my third Stana Finance Days. I missed last year, so 2021, it's been quite a long time. So we've been working on tokenized securities for a number of years. And following up on some of the comments from the previous panelists about the rate of growth in the industry, I think this is something that we're very encouraged by. I think we had a vision many years ago, and it feels increasingly, there's a lot of pushback when you first have a vision, but I think we've seen increasingly the consensus view, I think, start to catch up with that vision, and I think that's very encouraging for us. Recently I was in London. I had a chance to speak on a panel with BlackRock and Schroders, and I thought, well, this is, a very interesting data point. We have BlackRock and Schroders and Bitfinex Securities. And following up on Binur's comments as well, I think it's very encouraging to hear these comments from the National Bank of Kazakhstan. And this is one of we had this idea of the perception towards digital assets in the AIFC, and I think in Kazakhstan more broadly. And that's the reason why we first registered our business and began this business here in the AIFC. We had choices globally, and the AIFC was our first platform our first location to set up base. Since then, we've also opened up offices in El Salvador. We also had an opportunity to contribute to how the framework was established in El Salvador. We were the first firm globally to be licensed there. We very proudly have license 0001, which is a very good number. And now I'm happy to say that across the two platforms, we're coming up on a total of $250 million in tokenized assets. And we expect that number to increase into the end of the year. And the exciting part about that is that we see new verticals starting to come to market. So I think one of the interesting things about the development of the market, and maybe why I think it's been a little bit slow in some regards, is there's been a bias towards fixed income type products. And these are products that people tend to buy and hold and not necessarily trade. I think towards the end of this year and the beginning of next year, we'll see a lot more equity come to market. So we're excited to have public equity, private equity coming to market. And these are the assets that people in conventional markets tend to trade. So I think this will be very exciting for us to see more trading on the platform going forward. Yerkegali mentioned our first listing in 2021. I think that was a really exciting product as well. That was the Blockstream mining note. So I kind of see our services to the market in two different segments. We have our services to investors, which is to provide them access to unique assets. In some markets, it's just provide them access to assets, right? So across Latin America, for example, it's very difficult for people to invest in things like money market funds or U.S. Treasuries. We have a product out of the El Salvador regime that allows people to buy tokenized U.S. Treasuries for as little as $1. We also, the first issuance that we put on the platform here was the Blockstream mining note. I think it was the flagship product for the industry. It was a tokenized hash rate contract, slightly more exotic product, but it was properly tokenized. People could withdraw it, pull it off the platform. They could self-custody it. They could even trade it peer-to-peer within this whitelisted ecosystem. And yet it was also a security with an ISIN number. So that was a very, I think, groundbreaking product. And eventually it lived through its full lifespan in the AIFC. It matured after 3 years and ended up executing the largest RWA payout, returning more than 1,200 Bitcoin to people. So at today's valuation of $112,000, that's quite a bit of money. Since then, we've done a series of tokenized bonds here in the AIFC. We've done corporate notes, and we've done a litigation finance product, which I think is also a really interesting vertical. It's a asymmetric kind of uncorrelated asset. So rounding it out, I think we've been fairly successful in bringing new assets to the platform. I think this is relevant to investors. We've focused on professional investors, giving them access to these products that maybe they would struggle to get access to elsewhere. Going forward, I think our aspirations are really to fill out the second part, I think, of what our business is, which is helping issuers raise capital to fund their businesses and to drive growth. And I think this will also be, very relevant to issuers and to businesses in Kazakhstan. We've, as Yerkegali mentioned, been in the FinTech lab for a number of years. This year we're looking, I think we've hit the scale now where we're ready to mature, move on to the full license, to focus on offering some of these issuances to retail investors and working with some of our friends in Kazakhstan, people like Skybridge, to help bridge the gap for issuers here in Kazakhstan and in the AIFC to gain access to pools of global capital, and hope to see these issuances on the market by the end of the year.
Jesse, let me provoke you with one practical question. So what regulatory or technical changes are necessary for wider adoption of tokenization?
Yeah, I think that's so I've historically looked at this as kind of 3 or 4 parts of a puzzle, right? So I think the technology was the first part, and I think Binur would agree that we've kind of ticked the box on that. We definitely have the technology. We have platforms like Bitfinex and Bitfinex Securities that can do massive amounts of volume, can trade 24/7, can do real-time settlement. This has all been battle tested over the last decade or so as the digital asset industry has grown. We also have protocols like the Liquid Network, which is a sidechain, a layer 2 of Bitcoin that we use to do issuances. It allows us to set up whitelisted ecosystems so that we can meet our regulatory obligations, but we can also provide users with this Bitcoin or Tether-like user experience, right? Where I can send anyone in the audience a transaction. If you're on the whitelist, the token will go directly to you. If you're not, it will fail and be rejected. So that's how we can, make sure that our products aren't going into places they're not supposed to go. The second part of the puzzle is having investment-worthy assets on the platform. So if everyone thinks back to the ICO boom of 2016, 2017, it was focused on these high-risk, high-reward, very early-stage investment kind of ideas. That's not where we're at anymore. We have much more mature. We have publicly listed companies coming to us. We have tokenized bonds. We have all kinds of different assets. So I think we're there as well. Historically, in the first couple of years when we were pushing this business, I think the slowest part to move was the regulatory frameworks. I think we've ticked that box as well. I think we've got a great regulatory jurisdiction here in the AIFC. El Salvador is also very workable. I really do think that this is an opportunity. The previous speaker mentioned the Genius and the Clarity Acts. I think security regulation is much trickier for the incumbent players, for the mainstream financial centers like the US, like the G7. I really do think this is an opportunity for small and mid-sized economies like Kazakhstan, like El Salvador, like Central Asia, like Latin America, to leverage this technology and in many cases leapfrog competitors or close the gap with traditional capital markets. I would say the only challenge we have left, the fourth piece of the puzzle, is building on the distribution side. So we have investors on our platform that are very focused on digital assets. They're high net worth crypto investors. They're very front foot institutional money, family offices. but we don't have the distribution network into private wealth, into those kind of investors. And I think bridging that gap and developing those distribution capabilities into more traditional investors that I think will really like the technology once they grow to understand it. As you mentioned, real-time settlement, 24/7. I'm sure every fund manager and trader would love to have access to that. So I think that's kind of where we are now. We've ticked the 3 boxes and we need to work on the 4th box. But I feel increasingly that the consensus view is that tokenization is the direction the capital markets will evolve.
Thank you, Jesse. Erlan, я бы хотел задать вопрос.
I would like to ask a question. How tokenization may influence on financing or form of financing of large-scale infrastructural and energy projects. As far as I understand, this is your cup of tea. And could those tools of financing become attractive for a large audience of the investors? Well, thank you so much for your question. Well, big energy projects, I would like to say that there's an open discussion ongoing and how to make it accessible. We already have experience that we have gained. So what we can do, we would like to attract through tokenized tools opportunities of investment to the large-scale projects that are actually within the frame of the task of our president. So we represent the ETS. It's the 15 years of the experience in commodity market, and starting from 2024, we're actively involved in market of export and import through license of our partners, AFC. And today's the most relevant topic is the participation of in tokenization of real assets. We have offered a project, very interesting incentive of the tokenization, and which is really interesting that the head of the state is making emphasis on this tool. And in energy sector, I cannot really declare that we could do that. We don't have the solution that it is possible from the government side, but there are some things that had been already implemented. Tokenized market in agriculture, especially with grain and Kostanay, in the basis of the sandbox of AFC. This is the first experience of the tokenization of physical grain, which is really strange. For the first time in Kazakhstan, we are in regulation of the digital market, and we would like to have tokenized market. Why do we need it? Because 15 years of experience that working in Kazakhstan tells us that there's a big conflict of interest between the players in the market. So you need to take into consideration the balance, because government is the large exporters and importers, and with this balance of the conflict of interest, you face these challenges. For example, the brightest example is something that we do with the grain. Why do we need tokens in the grain? Because we would like to speed up the time. We would like to shorten the time that we spend for the deals and contracting, and of course, what is happening nowadays about in regards to the export and import, and could be solved through these tokenized tools. So what we think till the end of the year, we will conduct a pilot. We pilot it in Kostanay. We will launch this project, and we will have the access to the capacities so that we would think how exactly we could tokenize, for example, 1 ton of the grain. Well, why is it important? First, token allows us many things through the tokenization to conclude the smart contract, for example, compliance, for example. I know that not all of you actually face this kind of challenges but when it comes to the physical goods, there are lots of issues with VAT, and through smart contracts you can assure the transparency and you can return the VAT quite easily. Another thing, any kind of goods that we export has to go through the goods commodity pricing, and that is why the transfer pricing is actually something that we conduct, and this is we call it price compliance. Why am I talking about grain? It's because this is something that we implement already, and it will be launched till the end of the year, and we will have first results. And any kind of goods actually going to export could be tokenized through our platform, and you can utilize this opportunity, and you could have access to the preferences, and you can speed up all of the transaction and have communication with government. This is quite a large project. We are grateful that we have this kind of platform like AFC that gives us opportunity to implement ambitious projects like this. And we've been working 15 years in commodity and trading, and this is the first time where we have on the verge of the legal framework and being ahead of other countries, actually. Tokenization as a form allows us to shorten all of the many expenditures that is attributed and connected with export or import, any kind of shipment and transportation, because a real turnover of goods, it's not a secret that we live in Kazakhstan, and we know as of now, we are commodity stan, and everything that comes through the export, it's the commodity. So that is why we decided to have set ambitious goal like this. And we would also like to touch upon metal, to oil and gas, export opportunities. But this is in the future. What we have done in terms of the assignment of the head of the state, it's the transparency in export of the agriculture. I wanted to actually make the presentation, deliver the presentation, but it is not possible in this setting. But the most important thing is to increase the export capacity and potential of Kazakhstan. So we will start from this, and after that we will see what we can implement on our platform. This is briefly. Regarding the energy, we cannot really praise ourselves in this regards. There's a big work that we have conducted. I guess we will declare the results. Thank you. Thank you so much, Erlan. If you don't want to reveal your secrets, we can keep it for next year, dear audience. Well, fortunately, we have additional time because of the efficiency and effectiveness of our panel speakers. We have 5 minutes left, so you can address your questions if you want. Please. Please, could you introduce yourself and could you please tell who you're asking?
Magulov, I'm from Switzerland, but I was born in Kazakhstan, so very happy to be here again. Thank you for this excellent panel on tokenization. A new era for financial markets. I see it the same in the future, but right now what we see is just a repackaging of already very efficient financial instruments that are existing since decades already in the traditional finance markets. Concretely, treasuries, gold, and real estate. So the economic value generation is very low, or almost not existing. So my question is to the gentleman in the panel, and who is capable of answering the question, please feel free. What are the use cases that you see real economic value is generated through tokenizations for countries like Kazakhstan, for an example? I give some hints: trade finance, working capital provision to companies, and SME financing.
Thank you, Roman, for the question. Thank you for reaching out in LinkedIn, by the way, as well. So that's like one of the key motivations to build the regulation for tokenization is to provide a new financing instrument for SME specifically, right? In a number of ways. First, we can, through tokenization, make liquid something that used to be cannot be liquid, right? It might be debt, like a tokenized factoring, for example, trade finance, etc., etc. And we believe that's going to be a huge vertical, because at the moment you have 1.5 trillion tenge blocked as a debt from the government to SME, essentially, in public procurement, for example. Then tokenization can unlock this liquidity, and that's a huge deal. The second practical use case is to use tokenized assets as a collateral again for financing. And we already have in Regulatory Sandbox a specific project that are now starting serving real consumers in mainland jurisdiction. Starting from September, I believe there are going to be first transactions. And we believe these practical use cases, specifically we have the order of the president actually to find a new ways of SME financing. And we believe tokenization will be a part of this answer.
Thank you very much. I believe the same.
If I could jump in on that as well, I'd like to say that, you know, I think what we're doing, it sounds very revolutionary, but I think basically it's just upgrading financial market infrastructure. So all we're trying to do is to try and make markets faster, cheaper, more efficient. And I think there's also an opportunity to broaden financial inclusion, which I think is very important. So, you know, one of the unique things about our group of companies, Tether, Bitfinex Securities, is that we've seen a lot of growth and adoption and focus in emerging markets. Tether is very widely accepted in emerging markets. And the reason is because people do not have access to high quality financial products, right? In a lot of parts of the world, their currencies are unstable, inflation is rampant, and Tether becomes a natural choice. Our thesis is that the same thing will happen for financial products. There will be a lot of demand and growth driven by these kind of economies, because we've seen it in El Salvador and in Latin America. They have, you know, to be honest, quite antiquated financial infrastructure and access to very limited access to financial products. And we think there's going to be a lot of demand from these jurisdictions as well. So I think financial inclusion, I would broaden that to include what our conversation about retail investors also, and younger people, giving them investment opportunities into some of these products. So yeah, I think there are some very interesting applications.
All right, 1 minute. Just 30 seconds. So the fact that tokenization increases the speed of transactions without increasing the cost actually evolve the use case for funds. Funds has been around for a long time, right? Mutual funds, right? So we are seeing in Singapore, we looking at collateralizations, using it as a collateral, and also as a storage for stablecoin, because stablecoin not protecting you, right? So money market fund allows you to trade in and out for the 4 or 5% US dollar yield that people are looking at. So those are increased use cases that actually benefit the fund manager, benefits the ecosystem on the whole.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ladies, gentlemen, please.
Hello, everyone. I have a question for Jesse. My primary question is that Bitfinex is primarily a very big company, very big exchange. And I'm interested why Bitfinex Securities was located in AFC and also in El Salvador. Why didn't you choose, for example, Hong Kong, Singapore, any other countries?
That's a very good question, and I get asked that question quite often. I think that Yerkegali and I think Binur probably helped me answer this in a lot of ways. I think the attitude of the regulators, the attitude of policymakers, I think is I think more front foot. I think people have a better understanding of the technology here. I wonder if it's because Bitcoin mining has been so large and successful in Kazakhstan that people have developed a better understanding of the technology earlier than other jurisdictions, where people will still ask you if Bitcoin is going to go to zero. We don't hear that question very often anymore. I guess it's more, will it add another zero, I think is a question more worth considering. The regulators are also very approachable, so we're able to have conversations with our colleagues at AFSA regularly and able to have input onto the development of various frameworks, which I think is very important to us. And El Salvador is very similar in a lot of ways too. Obviously, El Salvador, for a number of reasons, is a very interesting country. I think they embrace the same philosophical outlook of the world that we have. They see Bitcoin as revolutionary technology. And I think we often say that El Salvador is kind of unique. You look around the world at the G7 economies, at the US, at the UK, and El Salvador is very unique in understanding the value proposition of our industry. They understand that the value of our industry lies in Bitcoin, stable coins, tokenized securities, and tokenized real-world assets. And that's it. And everything else, I think, is noise, and that's where the signal is. And these two jurisdictions understand that, and they want us to be there, and we're happy to contribute as much as we can to these jurisdictions.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear audience. Thank you, dear panelists. So, my congratulations to all of you, since according to our panelists, we are living already in the tokenization. We are living in new era. Of course, there are a lot of new features, enhancements to the traditional finances, I might say. And who knows, maybe those features will deliver some new products later on with the further development of tokenization. So thank you for your interest. Have a nice AFD.